Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sequel Decay, the world's only movie podcast. I'm Stefan, and I'm joined by the last survivor of an ancient alien race, Chris Ranta. Beautiful, isn't he, folks? Let's give him a hand.
Fuck. What? Fuck.
We're doing a podcast. Get up. Anyway, today is the part 2 of our discussion from last week, when we talked about Godzilla 1954, Godzilla 1998, the original Godzilla King of the Monsters, 1956, and Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
All worthwhile motion pictures except for 2 of them.
Half of them were worthwhile motion pictures.
If you haven't seen that episode, I strongly suggest you go back and check that out.
It's pretty bad.
It's a good episode. It's a quality episode, Chris. It's a quality thing that we put a lot of effort into. And our drunkest episode yet.
So what are we doing this week?
This week, we're still keeping on that Godzilla train.
Why?
Because we need the views.
Why?
And there's a new Godzilla that came out this week.
Why?
Money. The superior Chinese product that we're drinking today is Yanjing beer.
Distinctive Yanjing.
Yep. Superior to all your filthy American pig dog beer.
Like Pilsner, more like Pissner.
Budweiser, more like Fuckwiser.
Molson Canadian, more like Molson American. Am I right, fellas?
Coors Light, more like
Coors Light.
Miller GD, more like Eat My Ass.
Guinness,
am I right, folks?
Guinness, more like Cunnilingus.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Maybe I might get some likes on Twitter.
Maybe. Anyway, we're covering 2 Godzilla movies this week. The 2 most recent Hollywood releases of Godzilla, which are situated in the nascent MonsterVerse.
And by the most recent, we mean the second and third Godzilla films ever made by Hollywood.
Yeah, because the first one turned out really well, so they just wanted to keep that train going.
Yeah.
So we're covering Godzilla, released in 2014 and directed by Gareth Edwards, and Godzilla King of the Monsters, which was released in 2019 and is directed by Michael Dougherty. And I think it's fair to say we have a bit to say about these movies.
I have nice things to say about one of them.
Yeah.
Find out which one as we go through this episode.
Find out which one in 2 minutes. So, Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about Godzilla 2014?
Pump It Up, the motivation song, is a 2019 song by Andreas Gabalier, which features Arnold Schwarzenegger rapping. It's fucking cool.
Bryan Cranston dies in the first 45. So, Chris, why don't you tell us about Pump It Up by Andre Gabalier, featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Godzilla 2014 is the 30th film in the Godzilla franchise, directed by Gareth Edwards, and it's the first film in Legendary's MonsterVerse, and the second Godzilla film to be completely produced by a Hollywood studio, starring Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Ken Watanabe, Elizabeth Olsen, Juliette Binoche, Sally Hawkins, and Bryan Cranston. The film follows a whole bunch of people who are responding to Godzilla re-emerging, or I guess emerging, in San Francisco. But before then, he emerged in Japan.
Yeah. It's also, much like the very first Godzilla, it's kind of centered around one family unit.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan Cranston, Juliette Binoche, their son, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and his wife, Elizabeth Olsen, as well as their son. And I think for the first 45 minutes or so, that's definitely the strongest part of the movie.
So, Stefan, what'd you think of Pump It Up?
Awful. Don't ever show it to me again. As for Godzilla 2014, though, I'm unsure of what I thought about it as a whole. Really.
Okay.
Because it's very much, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but the first half or so of the movie might be my favorite Godzilla movie.
The first half of this movie is incredible.
Yeah. And then the second half of this movie kind of falls apart in a lot of aspects. And I think that's a really real shame, because they do a decision at the end of the first half. And spoiler alert, but I said it earlier, that Bryan Cranston dies, and after that, I think there's definitely a downhill effect, and it doesn't really plateau again until like the very end, which I think is really exciting and well shot. But until that point, it struggles to like find its footing. I think so. I don't know what to think about in total. I would say it's definitely the first, and dare I say, only good American Godzilla at this point.
It is the only good American Godzilla.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking?
Well, I mean, it's just I don't know. I struggle with. It's definitely the best American Godzilla. I just kind of struggle with this movie sometimes because it had the potential to be a lot better than it was, and you see that potential a lot of the time, and it's just it isn't really realized at the end. I think. What did you think about Godzilla 2014?
Okay, so you saw this for the first time.
Yeah,
obviously.
This is the first time I've seen both these movies. Obviously, because one is a new release. But yeah,
I was gonna say one of these is a first for me. I saw it 5 years ago when it came out in theaters. I think I saw it in Chilliwack, BC, at a dollar theater, and I didn't care for it that much when I saw it initially, and a lot of that was because, as a dumbass teenager, you're like, I want more Godzilla, I want more violence, I want more action.
Yeah, there was definitely a complaint when it first came out that Godzilla doesn't really appear until the second act.
Fuck yeah, it was definitely a complaint.
And we'll get into that, but
yeah. For those of you who are wondering, I'm drinking water out of a mason jar with Jeff Goldblum shirtless on it from Jurassic Park.
It's a sight to behold, really.
Yeah, so when I saw it 5 years ago, I didn't like it, and I honestly haven't seen it since. Because I've never really had a reason to watch it again since. So this is my first time watching it since the theater.
Yeah.
And I liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
Good. I'm glad.
There's
a lot of stuff to like in this movie.
I was pleasantly surprised. I think the first 45 minutes of this movie, aka the first third-ish, is without a doubt probably my third or fourth favorite Godzilla movie of all time. It's absolutely amazing what they do with it. Bryan Cranston, like, he's basically carrying those 45 minutes on his shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
Like, 100%. And he's probably the most interesting character in the whole movie.
Easy.
Yeah.
Definitely the most interesting human character.
Oh, for sure. And I love how it uses, a lot of the allegorical stuff it's throwing at us, much like the original. And it's using it to flesh out the character arcs in really interesting ways. And it's probably the closest a Godzilla film in the United States has gotten to replicating the atmosphere of the original.
Oh, absolutely. It's a very somber movie, just in general.
It's very somber. It's very suspenseful, too.
There's very little comic relief. Like,
I
think
no.
The most that happens in that respect is that I think Aaron Taylor Johnson or Elizabeth Olsen might have like a couple, not even quips, but like, or jokes, but just kind of amusing lines. Yeah,
because they're like like little bonding moments when he gets back from the war.
Yeah. I think that's the most you get. It's a really dark, slow, somber movie.
Yeah,
and I think that works mostly to its advantage.
Yeah, like if there's one constant throughout this entire movie, it's that the atmosphere is super consistent in the fact that it's really creepy, at times it's really terrifying. I think that's super effective, and I think that's enough to recommend it. It just does such a good job with the atmosphere, and the first 45 minutes are just, wow.
The first 45 minutes are definitely the best part. The first 15 minutes are absolutely gut-wrenching.
Oh, yeah.
Bryan Cranston is, like, this is, and I say this with knowing of the existence of Walter White, this is a serious contender for his best performance.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I think even his kind of chemistry with Aaron Taylor Johnson, who can be, we'll say, hit or miss.
Mostly, like, paper thin.
Yeah, but I think like they have a good dynamic. I think they do really well. I think the main thing. Wait, I just want to get this line out because I don't know when I'm going to fit it in, but I want to run it by you. Life goes by pretty fast. One day you're 10 and you're watching a nuclear power plant fall on your parents. The next day you're the guy from Kick-Ass.
You don't stop to look around once in a while, you'll be in Kick-Ass too.
Oh. Yeah, I think they have a good dynamic.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, he carries the movie, but I think that the story is so much tied to his arc that when they kill him off,
the movie
falls apart like immediately.
Like I don't think it completely falls apart into shambles or anything. It's just it becomes a lot less interesting now that he's not in the picture.
Yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson doesn't really have anything to work with at that point.
Not really. He's basically just kind of wandering around aimlessly at that point. Like,
I thought he was gonna like maybe take care of that Japanese kid, but that gets resolved like immediately.
That gets resolved super quickly.
I'm not entirely sure why he ends up joining that U.S. troop that like.
I feel like it was more just like, oh hey, I'm here. I'm also in the military. You guys need a hand?
Yeah, because that's what somebody who's like away from their wife and child who's going to be right in the way of a Godzilla attack would say.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Aside from the stuff going on with Godzilla in the second half, like I mean directly related to Godzilla, or the Muto, the action scenes essentially. There's nothing super interesting going on. So aside from to a lesser extent Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen, like none of the other human characters interest me.
Yeah, no, because Ken Watanabe and Sally Hawkins are basically just there to provide exposition to set up this universe a little bit. Yeah. But even then, this could have been a standalone. I don't know why they decided to go this MonsterVerse angle besides Marvel and money.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously a financial decision.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It easily could have been a standalone. Ken Watanabe is pretty much wasted. He doesn't do much. His character doesn't have... His character is a throwback to Serizawa from the first movie, but his first name is Ishiro, which is a callback to the director of the first Godzilla movie, Ishiro Honda.
Yeah.
He does, like, contribute, like, the movie's, like, pretty much only link to the nuclear themes of the original movie, in the sense that he carries around his dad's watch, which is frozen at the time of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki attacks. The movie doesn't interact with that theme much at all. It's much more... I think it reads much more easily than any of the other movies we've covered as more of a climate change allegory.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think this is the movie that's the closest link to that. The nuclear one is brought up. It is sort of acknowledged.
It's absolutely addressed.
It's just not a major part of it.
It's not something they explore because I don't think they feel the need to.
None of this is a knock against the movie, by the way. It's just different from the others. But yeah. It does kind of play... If they had played up with that, I think that would have made Ken Watanabe more interesting. Because as it stands, the only memorable part with him in the movie is him saying, "Let them fight." And only because I've heard that clip repeated way too many times.
It was probably in a trailer or something.
Probably. That's my main gripe with the movie, I think.
Is that it's just not interesting in the last hour 15.
Yeah, well, the last fight in San Francisco, I think, kind of makes up for a lot of that.
Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, because there's a point, I think, in the second act leading to the climax that's just very dull. And I think that's the biggest, like, that's the thing is, like, there's nothing about this movie and and those moments that are inherently bad. Mm-hmm. It's just dull.
I don't think they should have killed off Bryan Cranston.
No, they shouldn't have. I mean, it would have been really interesting to have him come back with Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, because you can tell, like, right when they kill him off, the movie loses a lot of its cohesion, a lot of its thematic cohesion, a lot of its actual cohesion. But so if they had kept him around and kind of continued that thread, they could still kill him off, I guess, but, like, make sure that just develop it further.
Yeah, because they could have done so much more with it.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of amazing how as soon as Bryan Cranston dies, Aaron Taylor Johnson's just suddenly really bad in the movie.
Yeah, he's not great after.
No, he's not. No, not at all.
He's not bad when he's interacting with Elizabeth Olsen, I don't think.
He's alright.
I think Elizabeth Olsen is kind of carrying that, though. I think she's probably a better actor than him.
I think so, yeah. Like, it's not that he's...
It is weird to see them make out after seeing Ultron, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little weird. What elevates him in this movie, I think, is interacting with Bryan Cranston and Elizabeth Olsen, to a lesser extent. But once you take away those elements, because he doesn't interact with Elizabeth Olsen in the second half either, except like over the phone, which doesn't really count. Once that happens, like, he's not really given anything to do. I don't really blame him necessarily. It's just
it's a lot of script things. It's a lot of him because I mean that's the thing is I don't think he's a very good actor in general.
I'm not gonna say he's a fucking Oscar contender or whatever, but I think that I'd give him the benefit of the doubt.
Oh no! Like there's one movie he's in where he gives this amazing performance. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and that would be Tom Ford's Nocturnal Animals.
Mm-hmm. I still haven't seen it.
It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, he plays the same fucking person.
Yeah, I cannot see him as
He's
Kick-Ass.
so boring. He doesn't have much for range at all outside of Nocturnal Animals.
One thing I did like about this movie, like, even, like, considering, though, that it's considerably weaker after the first little bit, is the fact that it focuses a lot of, like, the destruction in the wake of the appearance of these monsters and, like, people's reactions to it. It's not like they don't like linger on it too much, but I think that was kind of an interesting angle to take. I kind of wish they developed it a bit further, but as it stands, it's.
I think they lingered on it enough.
Yeah, I'm not complaining about it. Definitely.
No.
I think it's definitely the most violent Godzilla movie that we've covered until King of the Monsters.
I see your point, and I raise you a Shin Godzilla. I guess that movie's a little more grotesque.
I think it's more grotesque and like disturbing than it is, because Godzilla in that movie is a horror show. It like in terms of appearance, with like the never blinking eyes and the spewing blood. Whereas Godzilla in this movie is much more of a sympathetic character. Like if the first Godzilla is true neutral and the Shin Godzilla one is neutral evil, this one is more, I don't know, neutral good. We'll say
neutral meh.
Neutral somewhere between neutral good and true neutral.
It's all good, fam.
Because they mentioned in the movie, and I do like this angle, that Godzilla is the one that keeps the balance between the interactions of the kaiju with the rest of the world. Or, like, at least he's the guy who's, when the Muto are rampaging through urban areas, he's the one who comes like, all right, you crazy kids. And just...
He's like Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino, like, get off my lawn.
Exactly. Like, I like that. I like that about him, because I think if you're going to bring other kaiju into the world, I think that's a kind of interesting role to have Godzilla in. I mentioned in the first Godzilla episode that I got a lot of cosmic horror vibes from the first Godzilla movie, and I didn't think that it actually is a cosmic horror movie, and I still don't. But I definitely got that feeling more in this movie. And I still don't think it's a cosmic horror. It doesn't have enough overlap with the rest of the other works in the genre. But the idea of Godzilla's interactions with the monsters being something that is completely out of humanity's control. Mm-hmm. This is between them and them alone. Humans are as consequential as insects to them. I really like that. And we'll talk about in King of the Monsters how I think they eventually kind of ruined that. But I think we get a little interesting glimpse into that in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of Godzilla, well, I think he looks good. He's a big chunky boy.
Yeah, he looks kind of cute, actually.
You
just kind of want to. No, not in a sex way.
No, not in a sex way.
I meant in like a way like you look at a cat and you're like, oh, he's so precious.
Yeah, I want to squeeze him.
I just want to give him little like neck lips.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's adorable.
He's a big, chubby lizard boy.
Yeah, he's like Fraggle.
He is like Fraggle. But
he's like my cat.
I wanted to talk a little bit about like because the main complaint I had I heard about this, I didn't see it when it came out, but the main complaint I had heard about it when it came out is, oh, Godzilla isn't in this movie for the first half hour, so it's boring. First, like, I don't know what fucking movie they were watching, because I think the first hour, the first hour or so is absolutely thrilling.
45 minutes.
45 minutes, you're right. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Well, the first hour's pretty good. Like,
second, like, yeah. I mean,
I'd say, it doesn't really get super boring until the whole thing with the kid gets resolved.
At that point, it goes downhill. But I think that's how you know that somebody has not ever watched a Godzilla movie before. Because the first Godzilla movie, 1954, Godzilla does not turn up regularly until the second half.
Yeah, basically.
Which, extrapolated to the same time amount, is exactly the same as this movie.
Yeah.
It's much... And I think the build-up in this is so good. The build-up to Godzilla and the build-up of the human relationships is so good that I'm not bothered at all by the fact that Godzilla doesn't appear until the end.
Fuck no.
I think it would weaken him as a character as well as the story as a whole if he had appeared in the first half.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, no, the first half of the movie is either fucking amazing or still solid enough. Yeah, like, who fucking cares if Godzilla showed up? Yeah, also, you clearly have only seen movies like Giant Monsters All Out Attack and Destroy All Monsters, or Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla.
If a Godzilla movie at all. Because I think we, in the West, kind of have a preconceived notion of what Godzilla is. And that 100%. Is giant lizard. And a lot of that is just because we don't really have access to the movies. So, like, all we have to see is Giant Monster Attacks Tokyo.
Yeah, like, we have access to some of them. We don't have access to all of them. And that's really frustrating.
Yeah, so we don't have a lot of the proper context for appreciating the historical context of Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we saw that tweet recently where we were talking about King of the Monsters.
Oh, the one that I retweeted?
That's the one.
So this is from a Twitter page called
Classy individual.
Man, yeah. He said, watching a Godzilla movie for the human drama is like watching porn for the acting.
Motherfucker, you haven't seen a Godzilla movie. Shut the fuck up.
You know, because watching the original Godzilla for the cautionary tale on the dangers of nuclear weapons and Shin Godzilla for the political satire on what would happen if, say, Godzilla was unleashed today that also commented on nuclear weapons and warfare are exactly like watching porn for the acting, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Man. Some fucking people. While we're on that topic, I kind of want to touch back on Godzilla 1998.
Oh, fuck off.
No.
Fuck off.
Not the movie itself.
Oh, no.
When we talked about that movie, I think we were kind of very dismissive about the concept of American remakes of foreign products in general.
I still am.
I don't think you're wrong to be. But I think we should also recognize that there's nothing about that makes that necessarily, like in a vacuum, that means that an American product is automatically inferior to a Japanese one. But that isn't to say that the American film industry is much more money driven than the Japanese one. Yeah, I would assume they're both money driven. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, but I'd say the American film industry is a lot more commerce oriented than most.
Oh yeah. Just because Hollywood is maybe the worst industry in the world, but
right up there with McDonald's.
Because it is so much more driven by the bottom line, the financial bottom line.
Yeah.
That's reflected a lot in movies. I don't think I need to post a study to fucking see that. And you definitely got that with Godzilla 1998. But you got to see that to an extent, yeah, but not so much with Godzilla 2014.
No, not really. I think Godzilla 2014 is a lot more thoughtful, and it has a purpose. There's a reason why Gareth Edwards wanted to make this movie. I cannot say that for Rogue One, which Gareth Edwards later on went to direct, but I think...
Well, I mean, Star Wars is very much part of this machine that we're talking about.
No, but I'm sure, J.J. Abrams genuinely wanted to do something with The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Took a while. And Rian Johnson clearly genuinely had thoughts when he was doing The Last Jedi.
Boy, did he ever.
And we will talk about that later.
Last Jedi objectively the best Star Wars movie. Just tossing that out there.
We'll explain ourselves in December.
Woo!
Way to ruin the season finale. Dick. Yeah, but with, Rian Johnson doing The Last Jedi, Abrams doing The Force Awakens, clearly they had ideas in mind, and clearly they were put into the film. Whether you like the movies or not, they clearly had ambitions and ideas. Rogue One does not have ideas.
That'll have to wait.
The rest of this will have to wait. But basically what I'm saying is, Gareth Edwards clearly had a vision for Godzilla that he didn't have for Rogue One.
And he did have an appreciation for the original product. Unlike,
he absolutely did.
As we touched on, Roland Emmerich, who we talked about.
It's okay.
Has zero actual appreciation for Godzilla. Okay. He's a fucking piece of shit.
Just burp for me. It's okay.
No. I will not yield. Oh
you
God.
You to burp?
I can feel it coming. Oh, stop.
I can't believe I almost got you to burp.
I don't know if it was a burp necessarily, but I was feeling something.
But yeah, also Gareth Edwards' directorial debut, I think, was a little independent film called Monsters, which is a monster movie that's centered more around human. So clearly he has a lot of love for Godzilla. He clearly has a lot of love for the genre.
Mm-hmm. And I think it comes through.
For
really
sure.
Does. For all my problems with the movie, I can't deny that it's made with a lot of love for the original.
Yeah.
The original big Lizardo boy.
The OG.
The OG Lizardo. Fun fact, in Japan, Charizard is called Lizardon.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Lizardon. I really hate the kind of army general character. Oh, not a general. His name is Admiral William Stentz, but he is there and he's played by David Strathern. And he's there basically to articulate the worst ideas possible and carry them out just so the fucking movie will move along. Mm-hmm. It's clearly established that Godzilla and the kaiju subsist on radiation. That's how they've been able to survive for all these years. Mm-hmm. And this imbecile's solution is, well, why don't we just hit them with a bigger bomb? Godzilla was lightly nudged from his sleep because of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What the fuck is a bigger bomb gonna do, you absolute fucking moron?
Let's take Bikini Bottom and move it somewhere else!
More so than even the environmental allegory, I think this movie is more about the arrogance of man. Like, as Ken Watanabe literally fucking says, the arrogance of man in terms of how it relates to nature and scientific creation. I don't know that it necessarily articulates that in the best way, just because the second half is so muddled.
Yeah, the second half, it's not just that it's muddled, it's not just that it's muddled, it's also that it's uninteresting.
Also, like, I don't know what spurred Ken Watanabe to have that realization, because I don't fucking know anything about his character.
Yeah, he's literally just... I think that's my problem with Ken Watanabe in general, in American films, is that he's just kind of...
They don't know how to use him.
They just kind of cast him as that Asian... Like, he's basically the Ken Jeong of token Asian drama cast. Nothing against him either, though. Like, he's really funny.
As far as I can tell, he's a great actor.
Well, yeah, nothing against Ken Watanabe or Ken Jeong. They're both very talented in their fields, I think. Mm-hmm. Like, Ken Jeong's great in Community, and Ken Watanabe's just really good in general. It's just that they've both just gotten typecast.
I think so,
as being token Asian exposition guy or token Asian comic relief.
His character from Community or Hangover.
More Hangover than Community,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And if Ken Watanabe is wasted, then Sally Hawkins is even more so fucking wasted.
Oh,
she has, what, 3 lines the entire movie?
More than that, but they're all exposition, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, she's not a character.
She has more lines in this than Shape of Water, but I liked her more in Shape of
Water. No kidding.
Wow, that was something I thought of on the spot.
I think that shot of the paratroopers landing in San Francisco was gorgeous.
Oh fuck, yeah. It kind of... Was that the same scene from the trailer?
I don't remember the original trailer.
I remember the original teaser being a bunch of paratroopers jumping in, and they see the silhouette of Godzilla for the first time. It's a really fucking good trailer. I don't think it's the same scene, but I know which scene you're talking about. I just haven't seen the trailer in like 5 years either.
And my last little point I wanted to make was, I like the Muto.
Yeah.
I think they're kaiju, but I think the way they interact with Godzilla and themselves and how they fucking do not care about humans. Like, it's not even that they're maliciously trying to kill them or anything.
They just don't care.
They just don't care.
They just have no... They just... Who fucking cares?
They're here to fucking chew radiation, and they're all out of radiation.
So they gotta fuck.
Because they gotta fuck. I think the way they behave is... There's a lot of character to them. I like when they meet up for the first time, they start nuzzling, like a cat would.
Yeah.
I like that the female Muto seems like genuinely upset and sad when her nest is blown up. Mm-hmm. I think there's they fit a lot of character to them, and like I credit Gareth Edwards or the design team or whoever had the design team, because they're fucking gonna go unappreciated, but I credit them with not using a pre-established kaiju, instead creating their own and making it their own.
Yeah.
Because I think they pulled it off really well. I really enjoyed the Muto. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what did you want to say about San Francisco? The City of Angels.
Let's talk about the San Francisco scene, because it's fucking awesome.
Alright, yeah, you do.
And that's all I got. It's fucking awesome.
It's really fun.
I like watching fighting. I clap.
Like, this movie was firmly on my shit list until the San Francisco scene.
Really?
Yeah, like, just because I was so let down by most of the second half. I really did not like the second half. But once the San Francisco scene comes, a lot of my problems with it were alleviated just because that was so entertaining.
Yeah, it's really good payoff.
Yeah, I think the cinematography in this movie is just fucking exceptional in general. Like, I like the reddish brown palette that the whole that revolves around San Francisco.
I like how the movie gets a little handheld at points.
Yes,
Like, it kind of reminded me of a movie I didn't recommend last week and feel bad for not recommending. Cloverfield.
Yes.
It's the first two are very good, and Cloverfield Paradox is bad. We'll do an episode one day, I'm sure.
The Muto kind of looked like the Cloverfield monster too. I'm sure I'm not the first person to make that point.
No, I'm sure you're not.
But they do. It's a fair point. They do look like him.
I'd honestly argue that Cloverfield's probably the best fucking Godzilla movie ever made by the United States that isn't directly related to Godzilla.
That's more of a cosmic horror, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh god, that fucking scene where Lizzie Kaplan goes into that thing. Like, into the quarantine zone and her stomach fucking explodes.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great scene.
Fun for the kids of every age. Bring your Fraggle to it. If you give a Fraggle a cookie,
He'll just hit it.
He won't really know what to do with it because he's a cat. Is that all we were going to say?
I'm just watching him play with his ball.
Yeah.
Guys, folks. My cat's adorable.
He really is. He's a really good boy. Should have named my dog Godzilla. Shit. It's a missed opportunity.
Should have named my cat Godzilla. What are you talking about?
I feel it's worth reiterating how adorable Godzilla is in this movie. Like, he's just, like, this chubby, like, he waddles into San Francisco, and he's like, all right, you crazy kids, it's time to take it down a notch. And the Moon are like, fuck you, Dad!
Now, son, you knocked over my beer, so you know what that means, right?
Just leave us alone so we can fuck! You know, I said no locked doors in this house.
This is like the precursor to that movie Blockers, but with Godzilla. What if John Cena was a giant lizard monster made of solely nuclear waste?
Are we writing the next Godzilla movie right now?
Godzilla 3, Blockers. John Cena plays Godzilla. Ike Barinholtz is Mothra. No, Leslie Mann is Mothra.
Yeah.
And Ike Barinholtz will play a kaiju.
Yeah,
sure.
Of some sort. Anyway, Chris, do you have anything more to say about Godzilla?
Not necessarily.
Would you recommend Godzilla 2014?
I'd give it a thumbs up.
Good. What? Elaborate. Could you elaborate on that?
While the movie kind of loses sight of itself as it goes on past the first hour, it's at least a movie that wants to put its characters and themes first before the actual destruction and mayhem, and it does stay very true to the original Godzilla, not only in that sense, but also in the sense of the film's atmosphere, the way that the characters are all drawn out, everything about this movie just feels like the closest the United States will ever get to making a fucking good Godzilla movie.
But
there's not enough action.
We're not talking about King of the Monsters yet. But I would barely recommend it. I'm giving it a just slight thumbs up. Because I was really let down by the second half. Like, I think the second half is a bad movie. I did not enjoy it at all.
Okay, I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it's bland.
It's bland, but I think that might be the worst thing that a Godzilla movie can be.
Yeah, but I'll take bland. I mean,
I'll take that. I'll take that over 98. But
I'll take well-intentionally bland over whatever the fuck that was, and whatever the fuck the next movie is.
Point being, I just did not enjoy the second half.
Mm-hmm.
I think what does make up for it is the first half or so. The incredible performance by Bryan Cranston. Mm-hmm. Godzilla and the Muto, the interactions that Godzilla and Muto have with the world around them. The last fight the climactic fight in San Francisco was incredible.
Oh yeah,
to behold. The intro credits were really cool too.
they were actually. Yeah, I actually took note of that.
Yeah.
Well, there's one more thing I want to add. At the end, when Godzilla won his battle, after he
rips off a Muto's head.
Yeah, after he does that, and also pukes nuclear waste into another one's face.
Oh yeah,
great. Like he essentially did this. Like if I did this to you and started puking right in your face.
That's pretty hot.
That's
But no, yeah, that was badass.
It was badass, but my favorite part was after the fight was over, and this is like seconds before the credits roll. He just kind of stumbles back into the water, like, I'm back to fucking bed now. Sick of your fucking shit. I'm gonna have a fucking beer. Plops right into the water and just kind of drifts away, and then the credits roll.
He's just so
He's
tired.
so done.
He's 50 years past his retirement. Fighting giant monsters don't pay the bills, folks.
No.
I think it is worth watching for the first half alone and for the climax.
Yeah.
For the themes that it introduces in the first half, even if it doesn't really capitalize on them.
No.
I think it's worth it because there's obviously a lot of love put into it. I think you'll probably get something out of it. I got something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend it.
Okay.
I would not recommend it as much as I would recommend Godzilla, the first Godzilla, or Shin Godzilla. But I feel safe saying that it is a good movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a very good movie,
even if it is disappointing at points.
Yes.
But anyway, speaking of disappointing at points, Chris, buddy, pal, lover. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about Godzilla, King of the Monsters?
Pump It Up is a 2019 song performed by Andreas Gabalier, featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger, who raps in it. It's fucking awesome.
That was nice, Chris. Now tell me a little bit about Pump It Up by Andrea Gabalier.
Okay. Godzilla King of the Monsters has 39% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, and is directed by Michael Dougherty. For those of you who don't know, Michael Dougherty directed a couple little films, one being the 2007 Halloween cult classic Trick or Treat, and the other being 2015's Krampus. This is the 35th Godzilla movie, the third one in the MonsterVerse, and also the third Godzilla movie to be completely produced by a Hollywood studio.
1 out of 3 ain't bad, folks.
That's my favorite Meatloaf song. The movie stars Kyle Chandler, Vera Farmiga, Millie Bobby Brown, Bradley Whitford, Sally Hawkins.
Millie Bobby Brown is a great name. I think there's charm to it.
Yes. Thomas Middleditch from Silicon Valley's in it. O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s in it.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah. Ken Watanabe and Arnold Schwarzenegger, who raps.
So what happens in Godzilla King of the Monsters? Tell me about the plot of Godzilla King of the Monsters. Why are you shrugging?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, spoilers. If you have not seen King of the Monsters, if you want to see King of the Monsters and don't care about... But if you do, and you do care about the spoilers, we'll include a timestamp.
This movie revolves around two different sets of morons.
Mm-hmm.
Moron Group 1 is run by Vera Farmiga, who comes up with this cool thing that can awaken monsters and lure them to different parts of the world at will. And she decides to awaken King Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra. Because she
like a smart person would.
Because she wants to make sure that her son, who died during the San Francisco attacks in 2014, did not die in vain. So she decides, I'm going to save the world by jump-starting the apocalypse.
So you like this movie.
And then there's the other group of morons, run by Kyle Chandler, Ken Watanabe, Bradley Whitford. And what they do is they decide, oh shit, well, I mean, we have an oxygen destroyer on hand. We could use that. And Ken Watanabe's just like, nah, fuck that shit. Let's go get Godzilla some nuke juice. And then we'll take him to Fenway Park. And then we'll kick Mothra's fucking teeth in.
Poor Mothra.
It's gonna be fucking great. It's gonna be fucking lit. Vera Farmiga won't see that shit coming, now will she?
Also, Vera Farmiga is Kyle Chandler's ex-wife.
Oh yeah, right.
So you like this movie?
Absolutely not.
God, it was...
Jesus fucking Christ.
Profoundly disappointing.
Fucking... Okay.
When we went to see Avengers Endgame...
We saw it together.
We saw it together. We,
made love in the theater.
We made love in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And after we got kicked out and snuck back in, we saw the trailers for King of the Monsters. I think that was actually the first time I ever saw them.
Okay.
Because I don't usually look up trailers on YouTube. The trailers for this movie are fucking gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
They play over like orchestral version of Over the Rainbow. Mm-hmm. And it's just pictures of Millie Bobby Brown meeting Mothra, Mothra swooping down from the air, King Ghidorah landing on a mountain with like a lot of Christian imagery in front of him, Rodan emerging from a volcano, Godzilla spewing blue nuke juice out of his mouth, and all of them fighting, and it's so beautiful. Like, those are the most gorgeous parts of the movie, and I still rewatch that trailer even after seeing the movie because it was just so beautiful to me. And then I saw the movie. The reviews for this movie are not good. Not good at all.
No.
It's at like a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
39, I think.
39. Even coming out after that, I still really felt let down. Like, I knew I knew what to expect going in because people were saying, it's light on story. Okay, but light on story, I can handle something that's light on story.
Mm.
I cannot handle something that is as profoundly disappointing as this movie. I was really let down by it.
I went in with slightly higher expectations because Trick or Treat is my favorite Halloween movie of all time, and I love Krampus to no end. Mm-hmm. I love Michael Dougherty's work as a director. I think he's made 2 really solid films. I thought, oh boy, he's going to make a Godzilla movie. This is going to be fucking great. Mm-hmm. Even the reviews, I'm like, okay, maybe it'll be okay. Maybe I'll like it enough. Nope!
I was going in, even after you called me to say it was bad, I was still expecting this to be, okay, well, Chris and I don't disagree on much movies, but maybe I'll think this movie's okay. Nope. No, I do not like this movie. This is a bad movie.
It's a bad movie. Okay, to pull back the curtain, about an hour into the movie, I saw this in 3D, by the way, which seeing this in 3D is about the equivalent of sensory overload, because you've got all the imagery going on, you've got all the kinetic action going on, all in 3D. It hurts your eyes after a while. So that, plus how shitty the plot was getting, about an hour into the movie, I walked out of the theater, and I stood there, and I debated on whether or not to get snacks or just leave entirely. Mm-hmm. And in this process, I texted you saying, I think I'm going to walk out. I was done. And I can't believe I'm saying that about a Michael Dougherty movie.
You better appreciate what we do for you guys, folks.
Like, is this one of the worst movies ever made? God, no. I don't even think this is the worst movie we've covered on Sequel Decay.
No.
I just felt like
flashback to
Hellboy 2019.
Ian McShane's second best movie that we've covered so far.
Actually, wrong. That would be his 4th best movie.
That we've covered so far?
Well, he's in all 3 John Wicks.
Oh, I'm an idiot. Yeah. Before we tear too much into this movie, because I think we're both itching to tear it a new one.
I'm very angry.
I think we should just take a moment to... Can we take a moment to appreciate my favorite type of Reddit post? I think we should take a moment to...
No, my favorite type of Reddit posts are the ones that start with, am I the asshole for hitting on a group of 19-year-olds at a birthday party?
I think we should take just a second out of this podcast to acknowledge that the visual effects team more than did their job. Because the kaiju look fucking incredible. They look so good. And yeah, they're building on pre-existing designs, not like the last movie where the Muto was wholly original.
Yeah.
But I think the way they interpreted these characters was just fucking gorgeous. I think the shots where they emerge, even though they're not long, which I'm pissed about, and the fights between the kaiju themselves, I think were the highlights of the movie.
Okay, that is one thing I added in my notes is that this is the most beautiful movie that I'm going to give a scathing review to this year.
Yeah. Like, I would not be surprised if this is, like, the most visually beautiful movie of this year.
I think so, yeah. Like, this is, like, the worst movie that I'd actually be, like, completely on board with getting, like, a Best Cinematography nomination.
Yeah.
At the Oscars.
Same
with Best Visual Effects.
Yeah.
Like, if it got a best Visual Effects nod, I hate this movie to no end. But I'd still be like, that's completely fair.
Yeah. Because
the visual effects team, the cinematographers, anyone who worked on the technical aspects of this movie, even the fucking score is great.
Yeah, I think it's always good to keep in mind that making movies is really fucking hard.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of really... Because even a lot of the worst movies you will ever see in your life are worked on by incredibly talented people.
Mm-hmm.
Who, I don't know, maybe they have make a decision that's unpopular. Maybe they don't have the budget to accomplish something. Maybe there's studio interference and they're kind of twisted into doing something they didn't want to do. Maybe they just make a bad decision, but they are still way fucking more talented than I think we ever give them credit for, and I think that's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in this movie, because CGI animation gets shat on a lot, I think for being kind of this artificial way of making a movie. And there are some instances where, yeah, I think that's the case, but even in those instances, those take a lot of work. Those take a lot of dedicated artists and craftspeople. And I think this movie is, like, an incredible example of the potential of CGI animation.
The other thing I want to bring up as well is that I'm going to tear this movie a new asshole really soon. I'm still looking forward to Michael Dougherty's next film. I really hope he gets Trick or Treat 2 off the ground.
Yeah.
I still love him. Everyone makes a bad movie somewhere along the line. The Coen brothers have. Quentin Tarantino has.
Spielberg has a bunch.
Spielberg has quite a few. It's not uncommon for a really good director to make bad movies. It happens. We all have our duds. And that's the one thing I will say is that I want this movie to be financially successful if it means that Michael Dougherty's career doesn't die.
Yeah. And one last point, I don't have a problem with any actor in this movie, really. I don't think, I mean, I don't think they're good in the movie. I think most of them are, like, pretty unappealing in the movie, but I don't think that's their fault.
Bradley Whitford's hysterical.
Well, I guess Bradley Whitford is pretty funny, but...
Bradley Whitford is, like, trash heap funny.
Yeah. But,
oh my god!
Kyle Chandler is a very workmanlike actor, and he will continue getting work until the end of the day, but he will continue to go very underappreciated, I think. His character's not good in this movie. That's not really his fault. Mm-hmm. Millie Bobby Brown is a really good actress. Not her fault that her character's unappreciated. Same with Vera Farmiga, same with Ken Watanabe.
Same with Bradley Whitford. Like, anyone who can read Aaron Sorkin's dialogue without flaws is a terrific actor, and Bradley Whitford was on The West Wing for how many years? Mm-hmm. Like, there's nobody in this movie that's a bad actor, it's just that they're all given a horrible script.
I agree with the general critical opinion that this movie is fucking bad. I think it's awful. Mm-hmm. I disagree with one of the critiques of the movie, which is that there is too many monster fights. I could not disagree with this more. I think that there were not enough monster fights, or at least not enough for this movie. Because if there had been more monster fights, we would have been distracted from these fucking awful long scenes of choppy exposition where they basically restate the same point at various times throughout the movie. Hey, I'm Kyle Chandler. My ex-wife hates me. Alright, cool, man. You didn't need to say it like that. We kind of got it. It was because it was implied in that alright scene with Millie Bobby Brown and Vera Farmiga. But okay, yeah, I'm glad you were up front with it. Hi, I'm Kyle Chandler. My ex-wife hates me. Cool. And I hate Godzilla for it. Because he killed my son. Alright, yeah, you made your point, but, like, I guess it can't hurt. Hi, I'm Kyle Chandler.
I can't wait for the scene at the end of King of the Monsters when Kyle Chandler goes all Princess Bride on Godzilla's ass. Hi, I'm Kyle Chandler. You killed my son. Prepare to die.
And they all take place in this, like, one fucking boardroom in a submarine.
Yeah.
And nobody has anything interesting to say except to restate stuff that's already happened. And there's so much of that in this fucking movie. Mm. And I wanted so much less of that, and I wanted much more of the monsters beating the shit out of each other. Because I know that that's not necessarily the smart thing to want. No. I think it's way more entertaining than what we got.
Okay. I'm gonna say this flat out so that we're all kind of on the same page. Godzilla movies are often one of two things. Mm-hmm. They're either very, very smart, or they're very, very dumb.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground. Godzilla is one of those franchises where you can really only be either or. You can't really have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
This movie tries to have its cake and eat it too.
It could, yeah.
And that's the biggest problem.
It's tries to be much goofier than the first movie.
Not really. It tries to be quippier.
It has more comic relief and with some really unfunny jokes. I think Bradley Whitford is the only one that actually pulled off a chuckle a few times. Whereas 2014 is fucking bleak.
Oh yeah, no, I mean this is lighter in tone than.
And this movie tries to have dark moments, but it falls on its face because it takes itself way too seriously for the dumb fucking movie it's in.
Look, I'm not going to say this movie's like super serious or anything. Definitely does take its, for lack of a better word, theme seriously. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm saying you can't have your cake and eat it too with this franchise, and this movie's trying to do that.
Absolutely. So I guess what was meant to be the emotional crux of this movie is the family dynamic between Kyle Chandler, Vera Farmiga, their daughter, Millie Bobby Brown, and their dead son and Godzilla. And how Godzilla plays into that. Godzilla's the real father. I get the impression that they were kind of trying to replicate the dynamic from 2014. I mean, not copy it 1-to-1. Obviously, there's a lot of differences. Like, they're different characters. But this dynamic felt way less fulfilling. And I think part of that is the fact that they keep restating the exact workings of the dynamic for so many times. Hey, I'm Kyle Chandler! And also, I hate these characters. I mean, I wouldn't say I hate Millie Bobby Brown's character, I just think I kind of don't give a shit about her. But Kyle Chandler's is annoying. Kyle Chandler's is just this pissy, mopey asshole. And Vera Farmiga is I'm not gonna say, okay. I almost said Vera Farmiga is a moron. That's not what I'm trying to say. Vera Farmiga's character is
a moron.
The information we get from her at the beginning is that she's a scientist that develops the Orca machine, which is supposed to communicate with, calm down the kaijus, who are known as Titans. And I do kind of like the lore behind the Titans. I don't necessarily credit this movie with that. I think this goes back to the original movies. So she creates the Orca. She and Millie Bobby Brown are kidnapped by Tywin Lannister and his brigade of eco-terrorists, which is the most 90s fucking way of describing a villain. That got an audible groan from me. But the moment in the movie I realized that I hated this movie was when Vera Farmiga Skypes into the submarine to talk to Kyle Chandler and Ken Watanabe and etc. to say that, oh, you know what? To honor our dead son who was killed in the crossfire between Godzilla and some giant monsters, I'm going to resurrect all the giant monsters. And they're just going to have at her. And the world's going to be so much better for it. And our dead son will be happy.
It was before then that I realized that this was going to be a rough ride. It was around then when I realized the rough ride had already started.
I think that's what I thought too.
Now, I am going to say though, as far as like family dynamics go, because that is actually something that Dougherty explores in both of his movies, like both of his previous films.
Yeah.
In Trick or Treat, you have the dynamic between Stephen, played by Dylan Baker, and his son. Go watch Trick or Treat instead, guys. Like, seriously.
I'm sure it's better than this.
It's a million times better. And in Krampus, there's the family dynamic between everybody, like all the central protagonists. Like, the protagonists are the family that gets attacked by Krampus. Mm-hmm. And he deals with them really well in both movies. So I don't know what the fuck happened. Mm. I honestly don't.
I have a theory, but we'll talk about that later.
I wonder if it's studio interference.
I wonder. I know that it's not necessarily good critical form to say what we wish we got from a movie instead of like what a movie actually gave us.
We're not critics, and also like two scenes in this movie like kind of stick out to me because of what I wish the movie that I wish they had been a part of. I'm talking about the scene where Millie Bobby Brown and kind of Vera Farmiga wake up Mothra, who's a larva at this point. And the scene where Ken Watanabe says goodbye to Godzilla shortly before sacrificing himself with like a nuke or whatever. It doesn't make sense. Who gives a shit? And those two scenes should have been part of a better movie. Mm-hmm. Because I think there is an interesting movie there about man's relation to God, man's relation to gods, man's relation to nature, man's relation to the grander things in life, where instead of what we got, which was basically man's relation to giant animals. No. This movie, because I agree with you, this movie clearly does want to have a religious theme, much like religious fundamentalists. Its characters completely throw science and logic away in the name of bad faith that Godzilla is the true benevolent being and will bring balance to the world.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on.
That's basically the movie, whereas, it could have been something about, like an attachment to the old gods and stuff like that, but it's not. It's not that smart, and I wonder if that's what Dougherty was going for. That probably was what he was going for.
I couldn't describe it now, but I saw it so clearly in my head after the movie, like a movie that's kind of has like a very not like a Christian movie or whatever.
No.
But like a movie with a lot of religious themes about faith and tradition, or
tradition,
or nature, man's relation to nature, man's relation to these grand concepts.
Well, if we want to go back to tradition, that is a huge overlapping theme in Dougherty's work.
Yeah.
Because Trick or Treat is all about the traditions of Halloween, and Krampus is about the tradition of, if you're a bad kid, Krampus is coming to kill you. Mm-hmm. Well, this is a very gross and crude take on it, but the point still stands. Like, his movies are very tradition-based, and I guess in a sense very faith-based, I guess, if you're bowing down to the Halloween gods or the Christmas gods, but those are mostly about holidays. Yeah. And this is about Godzilla. So yeah,
and I like the scene where at the end where the kaijus bow to Godzilla. Yeah. That was cool. But yeah, sorry.
But basically what I'm saying is those are common themes in Dougherty's work. It would not shock me in the slightest if that's what he was going for.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if it got cut to shit in post. And that's why it's so incoherent.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a director's cut of this movie out there, or if there is like stuff that Dougherty left on the cutting room floor or had to leave on the cutting room floor. I wouldn't mind seeing it. Like if they
same.
That is one thing I'll say. Like if they put out an extended cut of this movie or something, or a director's cut,
I'm there.
100%. I don't care. I would like to see... like, I'd want it to be substantially longer, because I think... Like, I'd say the movie would have to be about 15 minutes longer for it to, like, really work. I think that would be a much more interesting movie if we want to go on the smart end of things. I was looking at this more when I left as, like, if they just went full out, just had, like, a campy-ass reason why the Titans were, unleashed, and it was just a dumb monster bash of violence, I would have been completely okay with that too.
I would have been kind of disappointed with that. I would have been okay with it.
I would have been a little disappointed with it, but I would have been like, you know what, fuck it. Like, clearly they're kind of going that route. Because that's the other thing too, is that it seems like Kong Skull Island, I don't know if that was more of a course correction for the MonsterVerse, because like Godzilla 2014 is fucking bleak, but Kong Skull Island is very 70s camp and very goofy and very over the top. This definitely feels like it's kind of riding that fine line of both, and it can't do that.
Well, it definitely doesn't accomplish it, that's for sure.
No, it can't do it well at all. Yeah, like if I wanted anything out of it, it would have been just to go either like what you wanted, which I think would actually make a great movie and would actually completely fit in with Michael Dougherty's filmography.
And it would have made those two scenes that I mentioned fit way better.
It actually would have made a lot of the visuals stand out a lot more too.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
That would have been a much better movie. Or you go the stupid route and it's still fun.
Yeah.
Either one would have been fine. Again, like I said, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Speaking of Michael Dougherty's films, though, I also would like to talk about a little more further about auteur theory and discuss another very common theme in Dougherty's movies: consequences for man's misdeeds. Trick or Treat. Do you know anything about it?
I know a little bit.
You know it's an anthology movie.
I know it's an anthology.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know anything about Trick or Treat that are listening to this, track it down. It is still in print. You can probably find it for reasonably cheap. But it's a really, really good horror anthology movie along the lines of like Creepshow. And they're all centered around Halloween. But so throughout all the characters' storylines, a character will do something and then they will be punished for that later on in the movie. Like severely. Very, very mild spoiler warning for like a small section of Trick or Treat. You've seen Bad Santa, right?
Yes.
You know the kid from Bad Santa?
Yes.
He's in the movie.
Oh.
And he plays an asshole teenager who knocks over jack-o'-lanterns and he steals candy from people. Like, he's just kind of a prick. One of the characters, the principal played by Dylan Baker, who's incredible in the movie, he notices Charlie doing... the kid's name is Charlie. He notices Charlie doing this. He explains to him, like, there's a lot of traditions with Halloween. Like, you don't just steal candy. You don't put out your jack-o'-lantern until the end of the night. He says, here, take some candy, and he knows he's going to steal the candy. So when he steals a bunch of the candy, and he takes a bite out of one of them, there's this big reveal that Dylan Baker poisoned the candy. So, like, he's puking up blood and guts, but basically the point of that scene and every other moment in Trick or Treat is that your actions have consequences, and you're going to pay for them tenfold.
Right.
This is also very prevalent in Krampus as well, because, like, the family pays the price, because not only did the kid write, like, fuck you, I have no faith in Santa or Christmas anymore, but also the parents keep the family just keeps fighting with each other, and they can't stand each other, and they're not, because again, Michael Dougherty is very much a traditionalist, and like Christmas is a time to be with your family. When you're at Halloween, you follow the traditions, kind of thing. He's very much a traditionalist in his film. The family in Krampus isn't adhering to the tradition of being with your family during the holidays, and as well the kid going, "Fuck, I have no faith in Christmas anymore because of this." Krampus comes down with his henchmen and kills them all. And it's great. I mean, or did they kill them all? Godzilla kind of wants to do that, because they're kind of trying to say that human interference with nature is terrible. Because obviously they paint Vera Farmiga's character out to be the bad guy, for lack of a better...
Yeah, well, at least she gets way more screen time than fucking Charles Dance. They waste Charles Dance.
Oh yeah, no, he's just like... I thought that was Tobin Bell for like 20 minutes, because I don't watch Game of Thrones. Yeah, like, clearly they're doing that with Vera Farmiga unleashing the other Titans, these abominations created through nuclear weapons and warfare. But it's also saying that we need to spare some of these man-made abominations because they kind of like us.
Yeah.
Like, it's this really fucky line, and again, I think it's because a lot of the religious stuff is not fleshed out at all. So you're kind of looking at this more from a surface level of like, if this was a climate change allegory, it would be like, we're gonna solve climate change by adding a shitload more fossil fuels into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like, that's essentially what they're saying. So, like...
It retroactively takes away a lot from some of the majesty of the 2014 too, because you get the idea that Godzilla and Muto are just so beyond humanity or human reasoning.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, Godzilla and Mothra are the good monsters.
Well, exactly.
Ghidorah and Rodan are the bad monsters.
Yeah, and then if you go back to the old, 54 movie, it's just, they're all abominations of nature. Like, if Dougherty wanted to go the religious angle with it, good. That would have made a shitload of sense, again, considering what he's known for. The movie we saw, as it stands right now, it's like the 2016 U.S. presidential election. It's basically saying, let's say King Ghidorah is Donald Trump. And you're like, wow, that three-headed dragon monster sure looks like it's going to jumpstart the apocalypse. Here, let's bring in Hillary. She'll save us.
Is Vera Farmiga's character Hillary Clinton?
No, Godzilla.
Oh god, that's even worse. I fucking hate how easily they forgive Vera Farmiga in this movie, too.
Very, very easily.
Fuck off with that! She slaughtered an entire Mexican village! Like,
yes!
What the... Why should I give a shit about her character? Like, I mean, before she was an uninteresting character, now she's just kind of a monster. She's like, oh, it's the only one. Fuck off!
She's just kind of a typical, mustache twirling bad guy, like,
and they try to do the heel face turn, and it just doesn't work, because,
no!
What changed?
No!
Like, her face heel turn is out of nowhere. And so when she goes back the other way, it's like, you're kind of torn, because on one hand, you're not sure when she became evil, because that's just so sudden.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, she murdered all these people. And there's no way that Millie Bobby Brown, given how her character acted upon seeing that, should be forgiving her. Much less Kyle Chandler. And yet, they don't even bring it up.
Also Boston. I also love how Millie Bobby Brown's idea of, I'm gonna rebel against my mom by taking the thing that she's using to awaken and lure monsters from halfway around the world. I'm gonna take it to Fenway Park and lure monsters from halfway around the world and further jumpstart the apocalypse.
No, you know what? She did the right thing. She lured them over to Fenway Park so they could burn it to the ground. Undercover Blue Jays fan Millie Bobby Brown, please God, save us from this nightmare. Somebody please tell Charlie Montoya to stop bunting. Stop ordering people to bunt. It doesn't work. It's bad strategy. God help me, please. I think the fact that there are those scenes that I like so much, but they're trapped in this movie, just make me hate this movie even more.
Yeah.
Because I can see what could have been. I can see what the trailers promised. And at the end of it all I can say is that you're going to have a much better time if, instead of actually going to this movie, you just watch the trailer and imagine a story for yourself in your head. That's a much more fulfilling experience, because at least you're developing your imagination.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie is not worth anybody's time.
Exactly.
Essentially, YouTube the best scenes after it comes out on Blu-ray, and then
or just watch the trailer.
Or just watch a trailer, construct a better movie. Write fan fiction. I don't care. Interact with this movie in a more meaningful way than actually watching the fucking movie. And that's depressing to say, but I legitimately think that it's be much more creatively fulfilling to, like, just imagine a different plot. Because I think there is something there. Do it in fan fiction. Do it in your head. I don't care. That's way more fulfilling than watching this movie.
So then, Stefan, we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Do you recommend Godzilla?
Chris, where were you the past 30 seconds? Of course I don't recommend it. It's so bad. The only reason that I like it better than Godzilla in 1998 is because Godzilla in 1998 had nothing potential. I hated that movie from the get-go. Godzilla in 1998 is not an interesting movie to look at. This movie is a lot of parts. Yeah. So I think on that merit, like, it elevates it way beyond Godzilla 1998. Does it make it a good movie? As we've covered, absolutely fucking not. It's awful. I do not recommend it. I recommend, like I said before, watching the trailer, creating a better movie in your head, because that's going to be better than this movie.
I guess if you want to see this movie that badly, just for the fights, and you're not going to be just satisfied with the trailer, I guess just watch it at a matinee.
Yeah.
Honestly, it is one of those movies where I definitely recommend seeing the fights in theaters, but also movie tickets are fucking expensive, and the rest of the movie is really fucking bad. So I'm kind of in this weird place of, like, I absolutely do not recommend this movie to anyone who's on the fence, but if you're hell-bent on seeing it regardless, just go to a matinee and don't waste too much money on it.
Yeah. I can see some people liking this movie, and I don't think that's a slight against them. There's just so much better out there, and there's so much better that this movie could have been. Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating that this is what we got.
Especially from someone like Michael Dougherty, who could have made a much more interesting film.
Yeah.
So last week we decided not to talk about where we see the franchise going, because, I mean, they're going to make more Godzilla movies because, money.
Yeah.
But because this is all part of the cinematic universe.
Because it has to be.
Where do you see the MonsterVerse going from here? Obviously, Godzilla vs. Kong is coming out next March, I think. Where do you see the MonsterVerse going after that?
A lot of it is going to depend on, I think, the success of this movie and the success of Godzilla vs. Kong. Mm-hmm. I guess there are other kaiju that might be able to hold up their own movie, but besides Godzilla or King Kong, maybe Gamera. Yeah. I don't know what the rights are like for Gamera, but
I'm sure you throw enough money at whoever owns the rights, they'll probably give it up.
Yeah, they kept a lot of the kaiju alive in this, so you could... Rodan's still kicking.
Yeah.
That mammoth boy, who I love more than life itself.
Obviously, they could do a Mothra.
There's a Muto alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw one of those.
I'm sure they'll do Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla eventually. And they'll probably do their own Destroy All Monsters movie later on.
I mean, they killed off a lot of the... they killed off Ghidorah. I mean,
they'll find a way to...
They could find a contrived reason to bring him back.
They'll find a contrived and stupid reason why. Like, from Godzilla vs. Kong and on, I have a strange feeling that this is just going to be a very stupid franchise.
Which is depressing.
Very. And I mean, if what you want is to just watch giant monsters beat the shit out of each other, then great, here's your movie. I hope you liked it, guys. The fucking next one's directed by Adam Wingard.
Yeah.
The genius who made Blair Witch.
And Death Note.
And the Death Note remake. Every cinematic universe that isn't Marvel's is dead or dying. Because the DCEU now is basically just going to be a bunch of standalone shit. Like, I think the extended universe aspect is gone.
I don't care about the MonsterVerse.
No, and basically what I'm saying is
any goodwill I had was checked out.
Like, basically, I think this is the only one besides Marvel's that's still kicking. Dark Universe died movie 1.
But for how much longer? Because they could bring Mothra back, but if she stays dead, that's really one of the only kaijus I could see them making a movie on, because Mothra is... Well, what they attempted to do is build up Mothra as kind of like a different personality compared to the others.
They could do a prequel movie like they did with Kong Skull Island.
They could. That's a possibility. Definitely shot themselves in the foot with this movie.
Yeah.
Because I think if they had done more of what I wanted, the whole series could have had a running theme of how man interacts with nature or God or whatever route you want to take with it.
Well, and again, like I said, that would have been a very Dougherty route to go. So that's why I'm saying, like, yes, as much as you're saying, I want this, it's not invalid completely, because I wouldn't be shocked if that's what Michael Dougherty was doing.
If they had done that, that would have been interesting, because you'd see how man interacts with different quote-unquote gods.
Yes.
But as they're going now, it does not look like they're going to go that route. It looks like they're going to go the stupid route, and that bums me out. And I'm not interested in the MonsterVerse at this point.
No. Like, just fucking let it die after Godzilla vs. Kong, because Godzilla vs. Kong probably isn't going to be good either.
It's not going to be good. I haven't seen Skull Island, though.
Skull Island is something I need to watch again. Maybe we'll have to watch it for an episode to tie into Godzilla versus Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Perhaps.
Maybe.
We don't know yet.
Maybe.
And my second question for you, Stefan.
Yo.
Young man.
Yes.
Is we've had 3 Hollywood-produced Godzilla movies. Where do you see the future of that?
Well, I don't think Hollywood is going to stop making Godzilla movies.
No, but do you think Toho's going to be a lot tougher?
Well, I guess that depends what Toho's reaction is to this. Because Toho's reaction to 98 was not good.
No.
For justifiably so. I don't know what the reaction to 2014 was. I would assume more positive.
I would assume it was a little more positive, but I feel like this one's going to be a lot more negative.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be straight up hatred like 98.
No, it's not going to be straight up hatred.
It's going to be more diplomatic. I can't really speak for Toho. I don't really know too well about how they operate.
No, neither
I know
do
they are probably going to make another movie of their own at some point.
They probably will make many movies of their own.
Although it won't be a sequel to Shin Godzilla, and it won't be... I don't think Hideaki Anno is going to be involved.
No.
But I don't know. I don't know that I know enough about Toho to say. I would imagine that they're going to keep licensing out if it keeps making them money.
I guess that's fair.
I don't think they're different from much American corporations in that sense. I guess it depends a lot of like what's written into the financial details, like how much of a cut does Toho get.
Yeah.
And if it makes them enough of a cut, they might not have too much of a problem.
They might not have too much
to license it out. My guess is that they wouldn't feel much trepidation about it at this point. One of my favorite parts of seeing this movie in the theaters was in that one scene where Vera Farmiga like is Skyping with the other people. She like shuts off the recording, and that one Chinese woman whose character is completely forgettable, she's like, "That bitch." And this like old guy in his 50s, like 3 seats to the left of me, is like, "Mm-hmm." That made me mildly happy.
How full was your theater, by the way?
Not at all. I mean, it felt more compact than it was, but only because there were so few people, and we all, like, most of us just went to the top 2 rows.
Oh, okay.
Because we all wanted to get a better view. Well, I'll say definitely less than 20%.
Yeah, and you saw it on a Saturday afternoon. I saw it Friday night. So here's me in the middle of the theater. To the left of me is one guy, maybe 2, but definitely 1.
Uh-huh.
To the right of me is maybe 3 other guys. And scattered all over maybe 15 other people. My theater was fucking empty.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. My theater was so fucking empty. And then we saw Rocketman yesterday, and that theater was completely full. Like, very full. As full as they get.
Thanks for watching the show today, you guys. We'll be back next week. Stop laughing!
No, just do it. Jesus Christ.
No!
Subverting expectations
You're gonna laugh.
this week.
You're gonna laugh!
I won't!
They're gonna laugh! Thanks for watching Sequel Decay this week, you guys. You can follow the show on YouTube and SoundCloud at some point in the future. We'll figure it out. You can follow us on Twitter at Sequel Decay. Follow us on Facebook and Snapchat. Nudes are $3 a piece, folks.
That's how we make our money.
Our actual payment source is our Patreon account. Just look up Sequel Decay. And next week we'll be back with X-Men.
Shit.
Do you want to do X-Men?
No, not really, no.
I don't want to do X-Men.
Okay, so what's a comic book movie that isn't corporate trash?
Or is less so corporate trash, let's be honest
here. Less so
here.
corporate trash.
Because
you want to see a shot-for-shot remake of X-Men 3 The Last Stand?
No, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
That's probably what we're going to get.
That's probably what we're going to get. It's probably going to be awful. I'm not going to watch it until it comes out on Netflix. What is a movie that you just described? The
New Mutants?
New Mutants looks interesting, but it's not out. It's probably going to be ruined by reshoots.
It's probably going to get delayed again.
If it ever comes out. But yeah, I'm sure there's something that meets that criteria. I don't know what.